At the entrance to the Oak Ridge Cemetery in Springfield is a place that chronicles the changes in our society's burial practices. It's the Museum of Funeral Customs.
The Illinois Funeral Directors Association developed a dream about 35 years ago, and the outgrowth of that dream was to create a permanent museum where the history of grief and mourning customs in America and the history of the funeral profession could be showcased.
Prior to the mid-1800s, undertakers usually gave the deceased surface treatment. Embalming wasn't necessary since funeral services were held in the home shortly after death. But the Civil War changed that. Now the bodies had to be shipped home, and the practice of embalming grew. A practice dramatically brought before the public by an assassination. On display are replicas of both the train car that carried Lincoln's body and of his casket.
Lincoln's funeral was actually the first great state funeral in America. The fact that Lincoln's embalmed and cosmetized body was available for viewing by so many people over a 3-week period, approximately, confirmed in the minds of the public the benefits of embalming and the growing practice of a more formalized funeral service. What we have created through a series of case exhibits is a demonstration of the shift in the technology in embalming. The earliest methods of embalming involved small hand pumps that would create enough pressure in order to evacuate blood and any bodily fluids that would then be replaced by embalming fluid. That technology then was replaced by a gravity-based system.
As the popularity of embalming grew, so did schools that taught the procedure. Plus, licenses were issued, all to ensure a certain level of professionalism and training. But as this display reminds visitors, the profession changed again during the 1920s.
Because it was during the 1920s that most communities began to see the establishment of a funeral home or mortuary. Prior to the 1920s, and even during the 1920s and into the 1930s, the undertaker would go out to the home with portable equipment and tools, treat the individual there, and then the funeral would be held in the individual's home. Here on display we have 2 pieces of portable furniture which were called cooling boards. The funeral director would take them out to the deceased's home in order to prepare the body for interment. The smaller one in front was used for a child. It has a caned surface in order to allow cool vapors to rise up through the surface, and those cool vapors would come from pans of ice that could be placed under the board. What we have here is a slightly earlier device, first patented in the early 1870s, referred to as an ice casket. It was simply designed to chill the body in an enclosed container that, through a window at the head end of the case, allowed visitors to view the deceased, but inside there is a cooling board which also allowed the cool vapors of melting ice, which would have been placed in the tin tray here, to descend and surround the body.
But this is not the oddest of caskets the museum has on display. There are these 2 cast iron burial cases.
They were based on designs created in the late 1840s by a gentleman named Almond Fisk. The 2 that we have here at the museum are different. One is heavily draped, very romantic, Victorian in its appearance. The other is a much more traditional coffin style, even though it is made out of cast iron, and these are very unusual because they were very expensive at the time they were produced. They were designed to ensure that the deceased would receive much longer term preservation. Several Fisk caskets have been disinterred and the individuals who were interred inside were found to be in perfect states of preservation, and some of these individuals had been interred as many as 80 to 100 years prior to the discovery. We have a variety of reactions, all of which have been very positive. Many of our visitors come to learn more about what goes on behind the scenes in funeral service. Many come from the interest to learn more about American social history.
In addition to its main displays, the museum also has an area set aside for temporary exhibits, which change throughout the year. To reach the Museum of Funeral Customs, call 217-544-3484 or go to their website at www.funeralmuseum.com.